welcome back. You remember my client from a little while ago, curly hair. How I might approach curly locks differently. Well, my client's first maintenance session was today. This one was 4 hours, which is quite a bit longer than a normal maintenance. I'm kind of like doing a full set, though I'm not having to like separate everything out. Some of the things I want you to really pay attention to in this video is super cool, is the way that the hair lays, the way that the locks lay on the head. You can't see between those locks at all when I'm done doing maintenance. It's quite beautiful. I really enjoy the way that curly hair separates itself out in this very organic fashion, that when it lays so beautifully. When you first get locks with a crochet hook, everything generally is pretty tight. They're kind of stiff, they're scratchy, they're kind of like Velcro-y. They stick straight out. They're not very pliable whatsoever. It's not all soft because there's so much that they go through in that first 6 months to a year. Your first 3 months are the hardest, honestly. From there, it's like 6 months more, and then another 3 months, and like then it's like you're into your first year. Second year's even better. Third year's even different. I don't know, not better. It's even differenter and differenter and differenter the whole time. It's kind of cool. When she came to get her first maintenance, her locks are softer. They're kind of flowier. You can kind of tell when she's flipping them around a little bit that they're a little softer and they kind of move more. She was done, they're a lot stiffer. But going over the entire lock, very important that I always want to see which way that lock is spinning. I generally pick the lock up and drop it and it'll spin for me. If that doesn't work, I get in there with my 2 fingers and I start spinning that lock and twisting that lock a little bit. See which way this one wants to spin, actually, because now it's not showing me which way it wants to spin. So I'm gonna tighten it up a little bit with my fingers and then I'm gonna drop it and see which way it goes. Because then I know, I think it's going that way anyways, but oh, it's this way. I was wrong. So, and that's why I like to do that, because it'll show you. Come in and palm roll it a little bit, right? Tight up at the base, right next to the head, and then let it drop. And then do it again and let it drop, and kind of watch it a few times. Sometimes it takes a few times. It likes to trick you a little bit, especially curly hair when it's not wanting to show you. When curly hair doesn't want to show you what it's doing, it will go every which way and it kind of doesn't want to show you at all. And so you really got to check it out. So next, after I figured out which way the lock is spiraling, then I spiral the hair, the loose hair that's supposed to be in that lock, around the lock. And as I go down the lock, some of the locks, generally speaking, probably about 60% of them are gonna want to have some of this locksmithing done to them, which is kind of basically where the twisting meets crochet hook. I get in there and I spin it around, and not just at the base, all the way down the lock. When you're dealing with fresh locks and curly locks, the base of those locks, oftentimes that spiral is a little bit different of a shape. When you're spiraling the loose hair around the base of the lock, you don't want to necessarily have a spiral that's really tight and the lock spiral be a big loose one. You want the hair to flow the same way that the hair is flowing in that. If it's coming out like that, you want it to do that. So you want the hair to follow that spiral all the way out the lock. First maintenance is there's a lot of fuzzies all the way down the lock, always, because they're like kind of shocked and they're wanting to try to find their placement, even though you're palm rolling all the time in between appointments. What happens is you leave and everything's stiff and it's all pulled together really tight. It doesn't really move much. And then it starts to get a little more movement as it grows, but they're still kind of stiff. And then you get into that second week and you actually get to shampoo, you have to get your hair wet, and it swells and contracts. And that's how the hair goes through the locking process. Even though you have what's called instant locks, your hair still has to go through those stages of maturity to get there. And a lot of that is the swelling and contracting of the little hairs. Every time it gets wet and gets dry, they swell and contract a little bit more, and they start to lock up better. To get in there and separate everything out, get everything nice and tight today, and then I go down the entire length of the lock and pull all those fuzzies back in so that we can start working that stuff in with our wet and dry palm rolls. Generally, probably won't have to go down the length of the lock again, at least for quite a while, and that'll be a preference thing generally from here on out. So I just kind of want to show you how that first few weeks of having locks are going to get excessively fuzzy. They're going to kind of get really fuzzy down the lengths too, but you can see the insides are still nice and solid, put together. Nothing's falling apart, I promise. Just gets really fuzzy that first little bit, and then as you go through and come in for maintenance, we go over the length of the entire lock and pull everything back together. This is the last time generally that anything will be this stiff. From here on out, we're mostly only doing maintenance at the base of the root. that's it for today, babes. Thanks for swinging in. My name is Shane Fell, and I'll catch you next time you swing through.